Good evening. I'm Sanjay Bahl, co-founder and CEO of StarLeaf Talent Solutions. This is a venture started by ex-CFOs with an ambition to transform the hiring process for senior finance talent. We are specialists in CFO and finance leadership placements. We also aim to leverage our experience to provide career guidance and shape finance careers.
Hi, I'm Soundari Mukherjea, founder and CEO of Soundbytes11. After stints with Lipton and Ains at Grindlays, I got bitten by the entrepreneurial bug, and I have a portfolio career now. I wear a few hats as an organizational consultant, business storytelling coach, faculty, mentor, facilitator, and speaker. My big, hairy, audacious goal is to help leaders and teams drive business outcomes, build a personal brand, and be more human at work through the organic power of business storytelling.
Together, we are delighted to bring to you an exciting initiative, StarEves Season 1, a video series to capture the learnings of women super CFOs in India and showcase inspiring leaders who have reached the pinnacle of success in their professional careers. The percentage of women who take up finance education as a career is currently around 42%. However, with women holding only 5% of finance leadership positions in the country, the leadership pipeline shrinks considerably for women. Considering this ratio, we want to call attention to the stories of women finance leaders who have overcome the personal and professional challenges to achieve success in their careers.
And thus, StarEves was born. In season 1, we bring to you conversations with 5 such outstanding women CFO leaders, each of whom have scaled the summit of success in their professional careers and have gone on to lead and inspire large finance teams across the country and overseas. We'll be sharing these stories with you and trust that young emerging finance talent who aspire to be where these leaders are currently can draw inspiration from these journeys. So join us on StarEves Season 1 as we explore their personal and professional journeys.
We are delighted to bring to you the first episode of Season 1 of StarEves program. Our guest today is Sandhya J, Group CFO of Narayana Health. Let's get her in the studio. Hi, Sandhya.
Hi, Soundari. Hi, Sanjay.
Hey, Sandhya.
A very warm welcome, Sandhya, to the inaugural episode of StarEves Season 1.
Thank you, Sanjay, Soundari, for having me here. I know how much effort you've put in to get this together. And there is that YouTube video doing the rounds which says words can change the world, and you are trying to use the power of words to bring a positive change. So all the best to both of you and to StarEves.
Thank you.
Delighted to now introduce Sandhya, who I now know for a number of years. We are both part of the Hindustan Unilever Finance Alumni Fraternity. Sandhya is the CFO for Narayana Health since December 21, a rank holder chartered accountant for whom many parts of her career were luck by chance by her own ambition. However, she has been able to build a brand for herself in the finance industry. She began her career with Hindustan Unilever and gained experience over a wide spectrum of roles in the finance function. After nearly a decade and a half with Unilever, Sandhya moved to Wipro, where she worked both with the technology and enterprise division of Wipro. After leading business finance as the CFO for consumer business unit, Sandhya took a very unconventional change to take on the role of Chief Internal and Risk Officer with Wipro Enterprises. She also anchored the digital transformation charter for Wipro Enterprises during this stint. All these, she believes, set her up to be able to take the role of Group CFO in Narayana Hospitals.
Sandhya came into Narayana Hospitals at a crucial time when the industry was recovering from the emotional and financial distress of COVID 19. And from then on, there's been no turning back. Narayana Hospitals delivered its best ever results in the history of the company in the past year, returning 30% return on capital for its shareholders. The market cap has also doubled in the past 2 years. Sandhya was placed in Asia's 100 power leaders in finance by White Page International and in India's top 100 women in finance by AIWMI. She was also recently placed in the FE Power list by Financial Express and conferred the title of Most Innovative CFO at the Business Leadership Awards 2022. She was awarded CFO of the Year, Professional Achiever of the Year thrice by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. She was placed in the top 50 young leaders in India by Economic Times, and the accolades continue.
She regularly speaks in many national and international conferences and is considered a very influential voice in the industry. A mother of a teenager, a large part of her personal life revolves around her boy, who is also a best friend and strongest critic. Her mom is a key influencer in her life and has played a significant role in many of her decisions. But more so, she is the biggest source of strength and holds her together in more ways than one. Welcome once again, Sandhya, to the show. Delighted to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Sandhya, as they say, let's start at the very beginning. So let's start by asking you about your early school life, where your journey began. Talk to us about that phase, how you chose your career, and what are some of the influencing factors at that time in your life?
Sure. So I come from a very protective family in Chennai, where my life path was kind of pre-decided. I was that quintessential nerd at school. Through my graduation CA articleship with long plaited hair, zero, maybe negative fun quotient. Life for me was that of a typical middle class South Indian girl. It was all about drop dead studying, coming into the top three in every academic thing, including any Olympiad exam, anything. I don't even remember the number of exams I took at that point in time, and finally getting into a public sector job in Chennai and settling down. You know, personally, I always wanted to become a doctor ever since the age of 3. I think it was mainly inspired by our family doctor. He was everything to me, like friend, philosopher, father, guide, mentor, God, like that. Unfortunately, he's no more, but still my guardian angel. But I wanted to follow his footsteps. So I kind of topped my class in class 10, and everyone in school expected me to do science, including me, by the way. But my mom strongly believed that I should get an accountancy degree because she felt that it's one of the few degrees where there is no reservation. You're not differentiated by any way, and like any other typical girl of that time, I burnt my dreams and of becoming a doctor, walked into a commerce classroom, longingly looking at my friends who walk into the biology lab. I think I'm making it filmy, but like that. Uh, but life has its way of giving back to you. I work in a hospital today, and even though I don't treat patients, I get immense satisfaction that we are able to serve so many people. And Narayana is the best thing that has ever happened to me. But we'll come to that story later. What makes me happy today is that more and more girls make their own choices. They have the ability to voice themselves, they have the support of their family to do what it takes. And at the same time, I also want to say that at times in life, you can't always get everything you want. Sometimes things do happen differently and than how you would like it to be, but the only way is to embrace what life gives to you with full acceptance and try to give it your best and make something meaningful out of it.
That's really a very heartwarming story behind your career choice. Uh, Sandhya, the first job always has a special place in our heart. From securing the All India rank in the Chartered Accountancy exam to landing your dream job are two very important events. Tell us about how you landed your first job. I know there's a very interesting story behind it, almost like it was meant to happen.
True. So, like I said before, my mom was that biggest influencer, decision maker in my life. She had it all planned out, and life turned out exactly the way she wanted, or at least she thought. I finished my articleship in a very reputed firm in Chennai, cleared all my levels of CA in first attempt with the rank, and then bingo, I landed a public sector job. So all as per Amma's dream. So she thought it was a done deal, but life had other plans. I had attended the HUL interview at the campus and had gotten selected for the next round. By the time HUL called me for the next round, I was already into my first job with a very reputed PSU in Chennai. It was a time where there were no cell phones, no home computers. You'd go to a browsing center to check your emails, which I stopped doing the minute I landed a job. So when I was at work, I think HUL called my residence. That was the only number they had, and that I was selected for the next round, and I should come to the local Chennai branch for an interview. My mom panicked. She didn't want to disrupt everything that had fallen into place for me, so she didn't tell me about the interview call. Ideally, there are people queuing up for roles in HUL, and no one really cares about a nerd in Tamil Nadu who doesn't even call back. But HUL was not that company. I think I owe a lot to this HR manager at the time called Rikta Prasad. She was heading talent. She had the intuition to realize what was happening here, managed to reach me, convince my mom why she should let me take the interview and not cleared my interview at the time, and ensure that I turn up for the interview. I mean, she didn't have to do it. It would have made no difference to HUL whether I was there or not. In fact, they'd have found someone better. But she thought she had to go that extra mile for someone she didn't even know. She cared. And she left a lasting impression on me. To date, I go the extra mile to bring women back to work because I know I'll never be able to give back to Rikta for what she did for me. But every occasion I get to give forward, I grab it with both hands.
That is such a powerful statement, Sandhya. It resonates a lot, with us, uh, having gone through our past, experiences in our careers. In fact, every opportunity that I get to give forward, I grab with both hands. That is really a power-packed statement. This is also the philosophy with which we started StarLeaf Talent Solutions. Use every opportunity to connect with the finance community and help shape careers. The StarEves initiative, in fact, is designed to exactly serve this purpose: is to give back when you get the opportunity. And this session itself will have so many gems that I'm sure will resonate with a lot of women finance professionals and others as well. Sandhya, you went on to spend 12 years in Hindustan Unilever. I remember my journey in HUL, first as a management trainee and then 14 years in diverse roles. It involved lots of travel across the country, working on different projects with tight timelines and deadlines to be met. Uh, Now, what was your experience in coping with the tough travel schedules, deadlines? There was a lot of rigor involved here. So, how did you cope with this?
So HUL happening to me was a stroke of luck and Rikta, maybe. But the system is designed to give you the best of experiences. People are rotated every 2 years. Even though after marriage I had to be in Bangalore, the system worked around that and gave me experiences across supply chain finance, business finance, shared services, IT, project management, controllership. But also, because I was not working from head office, I had to make it up by putting that extra bit to stay networked, to make every role count, to make a visible difference in every project. The other learning I had was that travel is important. It is not easy, especially when your child is young. The guilt of leaving him behind and traveling kills you. But no matter how much one can say that the world is digitally connected and all that, there is no substitute for physical connections. It makes you a different person. I've never said no to an important travel because it is important in shaping your ability to lead, in shaping your ability to deal with situations, adapt. Sometimes when I have to go on longer travels, I used to travel with my mom or mother in law and take my child with me. Every decision cannot be looked at financially. It is okay if some decisions are financially burdening or expensive. Flight tickets at that time weren't cheap, but it helps you keep your sanity and helps you accomplish more. That is priceless.
I love what you said about being conscious of the networking piece as well. The fact
Mm.
that you were not necessarily in a head office position and what you need to do. And I think that's a gem for young women professionals. And personally, I've also seen that a large part of my own work benchmarks and standards saw their grounding in Lipton when I was working in Lipton. So the minute you mentioned that you worked with Unilever, Hindustan Lever, Lipton, there's an association because it's seen as an organization that's known for setting really high performance benchmarks. So, what was your experience, Sandhya, in meeting those high performance standards and expectations that HUL is famous for?
Sure. So I would say on performance expectation, no one can set the bar for you other than yourself. No, HUL has this culture of setting up goals and objectives, GNO, that the organization has given to you, and you're required to meet, beat expectations, manage stakeholders, maybe manage perception. That is one way. I have seen many people be reasonably successful just doing that. But your commitment to yourself is equally important. If you're not stretching yourself and you're taking the easy way out, there will come a time when you will only be good enough and never outstanding. When I was right out of maternity, I took a project role in IT. At that time, my child was a colic baby and used to keep me awake late at night, rocking him on my shoulders. But that was also an opportunity. I had that extra me time. So I used to use this to study IT and understand how technology works. I studied SAP at that time. It gave me an extra edge in that project, but today people tell that I have a better appreciation of technology. That late time studying at that time had a huge role to play in that. When I was once given a role to as a finance partner to set up a 2,000 seater India GCC for Unilever, I realized that you cannot create value by sitting on the outside and managing the numbers. So I took the role of project management. So starting from the color of the carpets to the design of the floor, I was part of everything. It gave me a very different learning, exposure, network, and understanding. And but also a lot of recognition within HUL and Unilever. When I left HUL, I had this handwritten note from the then CEO Nitin Paranjpe, and I've got this framed on my desk actually. It said, "You'll be missed, both for what you've done, but also how you've done it, with passion, integrity, and commitment. In fact, you would be a role model for many on each of these counts." I mean, it was so touching for me to for Nitin to say that. But really, what I feel is that, of course, HUL sets very, very high performance benchmarks. And, but it's not about what benchmark the company sets for you, but what benchmark you set for yourself. And it should be way above. Uh, so
Yeah,
that.
I mean, totally, one, the colicky babies totally connects to begin with. And what an amazingly motivating note to have and hold and look at, which will just set the tone for you every day, right?
Indeed.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I moved from being a finance professional to now working on the human side of business. And I always feel that there are these two characters on my shoulder, which are pretty balanced when I run my business. But for a finance professional, navigating the career choices is a tough task. And that is also where people tend to stagnate in their careers. Now, you've had very diverse experiences in terms of the organizations and roles that you straddled. What would you advocate for professionals, especially in the first 10 to 12 years of their career? Should they change jobs, change roles, go through diverse experiences, or should they choose stability and stay in one place?
So I'm a believer, little old fashioned that way, that tenure is important. We think that we learn the job in the company, but really we are embedding ourselves into a new universe. For us to learn to be successful, we need to understand the undercurrents, the values, environment, the leadership style, the driving forces, and see how we can be part of it in a meaningful way in the ecosystem to create value. Now, this cannot happen if we change companies every 2 years. But for us to be able to create value, it is also important that we belong, and this comes with time. Um, at the same time, within the same company, we must try to derive as many experiences as possible, either with different roles or doing new things in the same role. So, when I was about 5 years in HUL, one of my mentors asked me to draw a career wheel. So, she asked me to plot what do you want to see in your career wheel? What type of experiences you want to gain? What type of professional you want to become? Drawing that career wheel was a very useful exercise for me. From drifting from one role to another, I started focusing on experiences. Even though the role descriptions that I got didn't exactly match the role that sat on my career wheel, but I could carve out niche within those roles to learn those competencies. For example, my career wheel had a stint in taxation, which I never did. But in every role I did, every tax project I took, I went to it full on. I would do the research, study the case laws, meet the lawyers, meet the tax authorities, represent the hearing, file the application, the whole 9 yards. And I had that opportunity to do it across roles. So even though I never did a tax stint, I covered reasonable breadth.
Well, that's great input, Sandhya, for a young finance professional to learn from what you just spoke about. I think preparing a career wheel, focusing on experiences rather than roles, is such a powerful input. Let me now touch upon a topic which, in my own experience, is often less spoken about. Everyone talks of successes and gloats about them, but that is, you know, uh, you know, is the other side of the coin. What about coming to terms with failures? Failures are such a relevant and an important part of any professional journey. I've been through some myself, and I've learned a lot from them. However, coping with failures is what makes a big difference. What's your take on this?
Yeah, failures, of course, are an integral part of learning and becoming a better leader. Some of my learnings, maybe I want to start with an example. There was once, I made a really big mistake. I don't want to talk about it, but it was really big. I was really scared, distraught, shattered, I can say. But the leader I was reporting to at that time, first thing he did was that he took responsibility for what happened. And then he took it as a coaching moment, sat me down, and told me what I could have done differently. That stayed with me. Another aspect is that sometimes we don't really get the outcomes we want. Sometimes we work with people who don't live the values we expect from them. Sometimes we feel suffocated. Sometimes you don't think certain actions were fair and honest. There can be many moments of disappointments professionally, and I've had my fair share of them. But when you go through these phases, what helps me is anchoring to a larger purpose, professionally, personally, and spiritually. Professional purpose is like the resonance with the organization and whether directionally, is this a place you want to be? Personal is to own the identity of who you want to become and whether what you're doing leads you there. And if so, it gives you the strength to go through the pain. And finally, spiritually, I know spirituality is a very personal choice, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but it can be a very powerful anchor.
Lovely, lovely. I love the framing around how you've touched it for yourself. I mean, this is also a wheel of thoughts on your personal, professional, and spiritual anchors which keep you going. So, very, very powerful. I heard this conversation with Arundhati Bhattacharya mentioning that a lot of the times, she was asked how she dealt with the three M's in her life, which is marriage, motherhood, and mobility. And she replied that she did it with one P, which is partnership with the family at home, the ecosystem, partnership at office, and that helps her go through her ups and downs in her career. How did you deal with this, Sandhya? And what were and what are your support systems?
Actually, in matters of these, it's very difficult to give a one size fits all recommendation like that. Each person's situation is different, support systems are different, emotional conditioning is different, what one wants out of life is different. And it's very difficult to say that everyone can manage the partnership, can manage the balance. Um, for example, say whenever I've had health issues or need help, my sister or my mom would drop everything and come running to me. My sister sacrificed her career progressions multiple times, choosing her family or my parents or me over her work. I mean, does that mean no, she's not cracked that balance? I mean, absolutely not. That's her balance. So the starting point, I would say, is whatever choices you made for yourself, it's okay. So instead of saying what worked for me, I want to leave a pointers which I have learned from my experiences with, my own life and working with many others who go through similar challenges. One, we have to ask for help from the ecosystem, from our life partners, from family members. If we have built genuine relationships, people will support. We can't do it all by ourselves. We can't kill ourselves with guilt. It's difficult. But when there's so many balls in the air, we will keep dropping. It's okay to drop a few balls. You can't be that perfect mom, perfect wife, perfect sister-in-law, daughter-in-law, aunt, and still support a demanding professional life. It's not possible. People will understand. If they don't, you really can't help it. And we have to develop pride in our work. We have to create impact. We have to do something that matters. That is the coping mechanism for the stress. If we look at work as it pays the bills or keeps me occupied, it is the first thing that we will drop when we come under pressure. We will have to fall in love with our work. If we look at our work as an expression of ourselves, like a portrait we are creating, we will build the emotional resilience, solve the issues that come with it. And when we take a break, we have to find that moment when it's the right time to come back. For most people, they won't have someone who will come and motivate them and say, please come back. If they don't want to come back, they'll have the full support. People will say it's the right decision, keep extending your break. We have to motivate ourselves. And finally, we have to take the responsibility of bringing other women back to work. Both in Unilever and more so in Wipro, I had the privilege to work with return to work programs. Giving is the best form of emotional healing and nourishment. The more lives you impact, the more you feel what you do matters. And it gives you the energy to keep going.
Lovely, lovely. Especially liked what you said about no one size fit all, but leaving all those pointers, which are like absolute gems you've shared with us so far. And I know I'm making my notes, as will everybody who is listening. So segueing a little bit from the past to the present, in that sense of really present, what does a day in the life of CFO Sandhya look like? What's your routine? What do you do before you leave to for work in the morning and so on?
So I'm very fortunate that no day is the same. I do try to ensure that I get my little dose of exercise before I leave for work in the morning. That keeps me sane. Narayana is an amazing organization. The overarching purpose that we want to make affordable healthcare a reality, something that inspires each and every one in the organization to go that extra mile. But I also feel very empowered to do what I think is required to be done. I have an excellent team, fully committed to the mission, a very energizing set of peers and business stakeholders who give you a seat at the table to express yourself and at the same time act like a coach. I'm relatively new to the healthcare domain. Many times I don't understand the terminologies or why certain things are done in a certain way. So I think so far my journey with Narayana has been fabulous, and that really keeps me going every day to work.
Lovely. Economist magazine dated a couple of weeks, 29 July, I think, had on its cover the picture of a person whose arms and legs were being pulled in four directions with, with the caption, "The Overstretched CEO." Your own role as a group CFO also involves being stretched in different directions, coping with the stress of, your board role, board meetings, press conferences, the demands by the various stakeholders. So, really would like to know, what are your stress busters, Sandhya?
So, more than calling it stress, I would call it labor of love. You are in love with your organization and you want to see it successful. That means you have to put in the effort. And as a key management personnel, for me, always in the spotlight, you have to be able to get decisions across swiftly. Finance in an organization typically is designed to guard and put breaks as required. We have to find the balance on whether the brakes help with the right speed or act as a deterrent to progress. It is very easy to stifle the organization and feel gratified because you believe that you're protecting the organization. But the role is really about finding solutions to business problems. At the same time, we have to ensure that we are able to balance the board, the stakeholder, assurance, and the governance landscape. So that's really the fine balance or the labor of love or the stress that I go through every day. More than stress, I think it takes effort, and one must be willing to put in the effort to take people along, find win win solutions, work with the variables. For me, stress busters are my family, connecting to the larger purpose of the organization, and finally, spirituality. Finding those moments where one can connect to the higher reality. It helps you handle a lot.
Well, Sandhya, hearing you speak these words of wisdom on handling stress, I wish that when I was working as an operating CFO, I should have heard this earlier. It would have helped me manage my life maybe in a much better way. And and I'm sure this will be helpful for all those who are listening in now as to how to deal with the multiple hats and stresses that a CFO's life goes through here. But now coming to something which is unique to a women finance leader like yourself. Uh, we always read about, prejudice at the workplace, especially for women. Now, do you have to try harder to gain acceptance and respect from either your male or female subordinates?
Um, I don't think I've had to deal with too much prejudice as a woman leader. Maybe because I was fortunate to work with organizations that were committed to build a level playing field. Here and there, yes, I've had to work with people who have found it difficult to accept, like, why do I have to report to a woman, like that. But largely it's been okay. But where I see prejudice really playing out is about women feeling confident to lead. I very often come across women who don't speak up in meetings, who don't voice their thoughts, or mostly agree to the most aggressive, loud voice in the room. Some of those prejudices are hardwired in our head, and we find it difficult to get out of them. Now we have to break those stereotypes. Does not mean that we have to be aggressive or loud, but we have to express our point of view in an assertive fashion. Earn that place at that table and perform to the table to the place that we have earned and be able to add value.
Satya, let's talk of leadership styles. In my own experience, I've seen very diverse leadership styles. And they work. It's not to say that this is one style is better than the other, but given the fact that you have been so successful in your career, what would you say is your own style that you subscribe to?
So, I think my leadership style is like the typical Indian parent. You're always after your child for being competitive and excelling, and at the same time, you're very protecting and caring and would do anything for your child. I think that's how I work with stakeholders and team members. I hold myself and my team to higher standards of outcome. At the same time, I take responsibility for their success and I'm very protective of my team. This is the same for stakeholders also.
Would have loved to be in your team, Sandhya. For we looked at some statistics right at the beginning, in terms of the percentage of women who take up finance as a career, 42%, whereas women holding top finance leadership positions wilting down to around 5%. So CFOs who are women are not really common. That's only 5%, as we said. So how do other peers accept this interaction with women CFOs? Have you noticed any change in the last few years? What's been your experience?
I think the world has significantly changed. I receive so many calls every month seeking references for strong women CFOs or CFO minus one position. This is happening because people are realizing the value of a diverse thought process and approach in the leadership decision pool. So, to a large extent, I feel that the bridge of acceptance is crossed. But we need more and more women in positions of leadership that are willing to take on take on the mantle and step up. And then these questions will fade away. And I am believing that it is only a matter of time. We are already there. It is only a matter of time that we will be a country or we'll be a world where 50% of finance heads or 50% of any leadership position will be women. I know there are stats that say differently, but the speed at which I see women take on leadership positions across, I think it's only a matter of time.
Very gratifying to note that, and I hope that does play out. And that's one of the purposes of having this conversation with you, is to have influence in some way, the lessons and the wisdom that you have gained and you are now sharing with everybody. Sandhya, you achieved so many laurels and you are a role model for many young professionals. I want to get into a section now which is possibly are not so pleasant topics to talk about, but which are very relevant for women finance professionals in particular. I have a candid question for you, and I want to ask you about a topic also which is often brushed aside in the corporate world. Harassment and discrimination at work for women is one of the harsh realities that some women have to face. It is an ugly facet of corporate life and often leaves an unfortunate emotional scar on those who go through this. Have you, in your journey, faced any unpleasant situation at work? And what would be the lessons that you would like to share with others?
It's actually a very sad reality that even today, most women don't speak up. There is a study that was conducted in 2017 that said 70% of the women who face some form of harassment do not speak up, not just because of the fear about continuity of their work, but it's also because it's still a taboo. People are very quick to blame her, to say that she must have done something. The negative connotation attached to speaking up is too deep. I would be lying if I say I haven't faced harassment. Sometimes you end up with the wrong colleague, with the wrong manager, and when I went through that kind of situation, I did the same thing that all women did. They didn't speak up and quietly grabbed the first opportunity to run away from the situation. For someone like me, for whom work is a significant part of my identity, I love my work. The entire experience was soul crushing. And now, if I look back, I don't think I dealt with it properly. My, I think I should say I was a coward. And I took the approach of a coward at that time. And I know what it did to my self confidence. It was a big life lesson for me. I swore that I'm not going to let that happen ever again. More so, I swore that I'm going to actively encourage women to speak up. And I have been ever since a very vocal evangelist on why women should speak up against harassment. In one of my roles, I used to lead the Ombuds function, and I used that platform to reach out to as many women as possible. And I communicated the message that why we should not stay silent. If you feel something, you have to say it, and the organization will protect them. This is something where there is a lot of work to do for all of us as a society, as individuals, and it all starts with each one of us.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sandhya, for actually being vulnerable and sharing this openly. It can't be easy. So, thank you. And such incidents leave an emotional scar, right? So, what advice would you give to young women professionals who go through this?
Yeah, in addition to saying that don't be the coward that I was, I would like to say that emotional scars are no different from physical scars. They heal more slowly, but they heal. Suppose you were driving and you got hit by a car and injured. You don't start with blaming yourself. You don't keep reliving the moment of the accident and keep poking the wound. You accept the wound, supplement yourself with medicines, and give the wound time to heal. It is the same thing. We have to accept what has happened, learn to leave the anger and the sorrow behind, emotionally anchor ourselves to whatever gives us peace, whether it is meditation, spirituality, art, charity, anything, and slowly heal.
Thank you, Sandhya, for sharing not just the problem but also the solutions to deal with such unpleasant situations. Sandhya, you have overcome the odds and have been bestowed with so many awards and recognition. Now, you really have some secret mantras with you, which you have used, I think, very well. What does it take to become a successful women CFO? If you could summarize it, all your, learnings in a capsule or the mantras in a capsule, I think that would be great to sort of, for our listeners.
You're making me very conscious by saying again and again, you've arrived. It feels very out of place. But, wherever little I've got to, I think some of the mantras being ambitious, authentic, assertive, and falling in love with everything you do, professionally and personally. I spoke about this note about from Nitin Paranjpe that I've framed and kept earlier. I also have a small piece of paper which I've framed and kept inside the same photo frame for years now. It says A greater than R. This is something that Nitin always spoke about. He said A stands for ambition and R stands for resources. The difference between a manager and a leader is that for a leader, the ambition will always be greater than resources. It is something I always strive for. Can we do more with what we have? The other part is that in business and in life, we have to instill the and mentality. Again, learned it from Nitin. We have to find the and. In business, it's very easy growth and profits, agility and controls, but same in personal life, family and work, and so on. We have to find ways to make the and work.
I'm going to remember this equation, A greater than R for sure. And with your permission, use it in my session, Sandhya.
I've also stolen it from Nitin only, so by all means. Yeah.
And I really love what you said about the and. Indra Nui instituted a program when she was in PepsiCo saying performance with a purpose. So it is this growth and profits that you're talking about really connects. So is purpose a driving force for a finance leader? And if yes, what is your purpose?
So purpose is very important to me. It's one of the biggest factors that fuel my love affair with everything I do. Um, the purpose of the organization has to resonate, and I think I've been very fortunate to work with organizations that are deeply rooted in purpose. But it's also important to find your personal purpose. Who are you? What are you? Why are you doing this? Why is this so important to you? I think for me, my personal purpose is to make a real difference to everything I do, being able to create value. And that's what makes me better, makes me drive forward, and I think motivates me to always look for ways and means to create value.
Making a difference. In fact, there is an acronym. If you say it's MAD, mad. So I think a person who is really keen and has a passion to make a difference, you call them the mad people in the organization. And one of the leaders who I worked with says, the junoon factor. The junoon
Yeah,
factor has to be there in a
yeah.
person, and that's how you really add that value to what you're doing. Okay, that's been a great session so far. I think we've uh, gained a lot of inputs and lessons and learnings and wisdom, which I'm sure will be very very helpful. Now let's come to a very interesting section, which is the rapid fire rounds. So we have two parts to this. The first one, which deals with a few questions related to the professional part of your life, and the second one will be more on the personal side to try and help and help us understand you better. All right, Sandhya, are you ready? Here it goes.
Wow. I'm tense now.
Okay, that's easy ones. I think somebody will come up with difficult ones later. Okay, the first one's in quick rapid fire mode. When faced with conflict, what do you do? Fight or make peace?
Uh, this is easy, is it? Okay. Depends. You can't make peace every time, but you don't have to fight every battle. You have to make a choice. But I've also got that choice wrong many times. So I think I'm a bad, bad example to answer that.
Okay, next one. Who would you prefer, a lady boss or a man?
I would prefer a boss who understands me and will be invested in making me successful.
Well spoken. Politically right. So, what is more important for a finance professional? And this is the question that comes up very often. Strategic focus or a lot of operational and attention to transactional detail?
So we do need strategic focus at the time of decision making, but when we are executing it, the operational detail is what makes the execution happen. So it depending on which hat you're wearing on that day.
EQ versus IQ. What would you choose?
EQ, EQ. EQ
Okay,
is amorphous. You can always give yourself some EQ quotient and get away. IQ,
right.
you have to be born with it.
Well said. Hybrid model or work from office? What would be your choice?
I'm a little conservative here, especially in today's time. I think I have to go into hiding after this interview. But I am a more work from office person. If you have to fall in love with something, you have to be there, touch, feel the values, the culture, the ethos. And I feel it's very difficult to get that level of immersion virtually.
That's from my
Sandhya,
side.
yeah, yeah. Sandhya, your answers have been rapid and fiery. We want to move on to your personal life now to make it a little bit more exciting as well. So here are your questions. Equality at home or only in office?
It's a tough one. I would say equality at office came through more easily. Equality at home was a journey. Yeah.
Uh, watch a movie or read a book?
Read a book, always read a book.
Binge watch or staggered watch?
Binge watch. You know.
We know what you're going to be doing this weekend then. Exercise or watch Netflix?
Exercise. Yeah.
Wow.
Just
What brings a smile to your face every morning?
looking forward to start a fresh day full of possibilities. That brings a smile to my face every morning.
Texting or talking?
Talking. I'm very talkative, as you have seen during the course of this interaction itself. Talking always.
And that's been fabulous. Please continue that. Vacations, mountains or beach?
Beach. I was born on the beach side. I think I still have a lot of memories and fascination for water and the beach. Yeah.
Lovely. Gossip or serious webinar?
The diplomatically correct answer is the latter, but informal circles have a important role to play in success. We need to draw the line where it stops with context and cultural adaptation and becomes useless banter, and and accordingly make a choice.
Yeah. Want to know about your coping mechanism? So if you can like complete this sentence, when I'm feeling down, dash, dash, dash.
Uh, I anchor myself in spirituality.
What was your last Google search?
I can't really remember, but I'm sure it would be something medical because there are so many terminologies that get used in office. I'm always Googling to understand. So, yeah.
Love. If you were to write a book, what would that be about?
I'm actually a split personality here. At some point, I would do a fiction, but maybe another point, something motivational. Yeah, I think I don't have clarity, but maybe one day I will write a book.
Okay, as a finance person, I think this is a good question to ask always. What is that one thing that you regret spending money on?
Actually, guilt spending on my child. I think I've burnt a lot of money buying useless stuff for my son. If I think back, I think I was on a guilt trip. Maybe I was feeling guilty that I was not always with him and I would just splurge on buying stuff for him. Once I bought a set of 10 storybooks, it just had 10 stories. And I kind of paid like some 30K for that book because, the way the salesperson convinced why it's the best thing that could happen to my child. So, yeah, I think that would be, I've done a lot of guilt spending that way. Yes.
Wonderful rapid fire. Uh, Great questions and lovely answers. I think, Sandhya, it's been absolutely an amazing interactive session and learning for us. We've learned so much about you, about your personal life, your success factors, your interesting stories, and of course, your own professional journey and challenges, that you have faced and experiences that have taught you and the learnings that you have shared. Now we are coming to the last segment of our session. This brings us to a question which I have often asked myself during my career journey. Uh, if I'd not been a CFO, then what? And what would be the alternative for you if you were not in this particular role?
Maybe a doctor, and if I didn't clear NEET, then maybe a social worker.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What would be your advice to young women finance professionals or people who are in their mid career and have aspirations to be a CFO? If you have to give a quick mantra to them,
Be at it. Like Nike says, just do it. Like that, be at it.
lovely.
Short and powerful. Sandhya, coaching and mentoring is something which is very close to my heart as well. And I want to pose this question to you. There's a lot which is spoken about, and there are a lot of initiatives which are being taken now. Do you think coaching and mentoring for women finance professionals in particular would make a difference to their career and help them, especially during the challenging times that they face, all the challenges that we have spoken about during this session with you?
Oh, no, absolutely. And coaching and mentoring are extremely important. But I want to also take a detour and call out about that we should be comfortable seeking professional help. We feel that mental health has to be managed on by our own. That's not true. If we need, we should seek counseling. Of course, we should seek a professional coach who helps us progress, see things with a fresh set of eyes, help us channelize our thoughts. We should seek and get every help we can get.
Lovely. We know that Sandhya likes to read, she likes to go to the beach, she likes to binge watch.
Yes.
But we're also, we're also curious to know what is that one non-work related skill that Sandhya has?
Actually, nothing. That would be the right description. But then, given that you've asked me this question and put me in a spotlight, and I don't want to walk out of this interview saying, see, this girl, I knew this is that quintessential nerd that only works, works, and works. So I want to let you in on a little secret that I haven't talked to anybody. I mean, not too many people know. Like, I love writing, especially poetry. I'm not going to tell you where I write. I still write in a pen name. It's my own safe place. Nobody connects it to me. But I love to write, and maybe eventually I'll do something with it.
Wow.
Sandhya, is there a favorite song that you would like to share with us, which you hum always at work or at home?
If I sing, your audience will run away for sure. So I'm not going to sing, but
Okay.
I'm going to share a quote. When I was in school, I read this book, Wings of Fire by Abdul Kalam. And that book was like a foundational influence for me. After reading that book, that was the time I told myself, I have to do something with my life. And there is a quote in that book by Edwin Markham, which I think has shaped my personality, represents the very core, and really sums up who I am. So I want to share that quote with you here. It is, for all your days prepare, and meet them ever alike. When you are the anvil, bear. When you are the hammer, strike.
Wonderful. I think that was so insightful. Thanks for sharing this. Though we would have also loved to hear the song as well. So,
We've been listening to Sandhya Jayaraman, CFO Narayana Health, talk about her personal and professional journey. Let's now hear what her family and colleagues have to say about her.
நான் சந்தியாவோட அம்மா மிஸ்ஸஸ் உமா ஜெயராமன். சந்தியா இந்த அளவுக்கு அவள் இவ்வளவு அச்சீவ் பண்ணி இவ்வளோ தூரம் வந்தது எங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப பெருமையாகவும் மகிழ்ச்சியாகவும் இருக்குது. அவள் சின்ன வயசுலேருந்தே அவளுக்கு ப்ரைஸஸ் வாங்கணும், அவார்டு வாங்கணும் அப்படிங்கிறதுல ரொம்ப ஆர்வம் ஜாஸ்தி. அதுக்காக அவள் நல்லா ஹார்ட் ஒர்க் பண்ணி சின்சியராக உழைச்சி ரொம்ப டெடிக்கேஷனோடு எல்லா விஷயமும் செய்வாள். ஹெச்யூஎல்ல ஜாயின் பண்ணினது தான் அவளோட கரியர்லேயே அவளுக்கு ஒரு பெரிய டேர்னிங் பாயிண்ட்டு. அதை பார்க்குறதுல நாங்கள் ரொம்ப சந்தோஷப்படுறோம்.
Mother and I are less like mother and son and more like friends. Ever since I was a child, she's always made time for me. Despite her busy work schedule and all the other stuff going on in her life, she always tries to make time for me and always tries to spend time with me. Uh, she uh, she also has a very strong moral compass and she believes a lot in integrity. Since I was a child, she's always told me that integrity matters more than winning or losing. she's also extremely hardworking, and she goes beyond what is needed, and she goes the extra mile to make sure that that any work is done properly, not just done for the sake of doing it.
Hi, everybody. The fact that Sandhya has had a exceptional and a fantastic functional and academic career is no secret, right? In Wipro Enterprises, she donned many hats. She was the audit head and risk head officially, but she took on ombuds. She was in charge of the ID transformation, helped me and the organization to build out and lay out the roadmap for ID transformation. She was very passionate about having women back to work post their break, and she really created a program very unique and bespoke where women who took a break came back into the organization to work. I think really there are 2-3 things which fundamentally stand out for me from Sandhya's standpoint and for anybody who's working with her. And they are really, she's passionate about what she does. She's truly a change agent, which she will not allow things to remain status quo. And she's really a rainmaker. She will try to be the best in class personally and for the organization. So she will benchmark with the best. These 3 qualities for me really stands out, because in any role you give her or anything which she does, either in her personal life or in her professional life, she has very high standards, and she pushes the whole organization, including herself, to get to those standards. So to me, she's an absolutely a great asset to any organization she belongs to and to the people she interacts with. So all the best, Sandhya. Thank you.
She's a person I know for almost a decade now. I think one thing that comes out very clearly is wherever she's around, wherever she is, you'll see a lot of hustle bustle around her. She is like a busy person. And that's something which comes to mind based on when I knew her initially. You'd always see her rushing from one room to the other, from one call to the other, and she'd always be juggling many things around. So, that's very unique of Sandhya. And I think she was in a hurry to learn and grow. Very ambitious person and willing to put in the hard work for it. So the big change I see in her, which I also keep telling her, is that I'm quite surprised to see the stillness in her, in the sense the depth she has got over the years. Huge amount of empathy has come in. She's suddenly grown really fast in the last maybe 5-6 years, if I think, and she always sees the other's perspective. I really hope the best for her.
Oh God, this was really cute, especially the Samarth one. I actually didn't expect him, what he said. So it was really touching for me. Thank you for capturing these special moments for me.
Sandhya, now we have one more surprise for you. You've talked about a person a lot during the conversations that we've had with you, and we now want to bring that person to you. Please come on. Hi. Hi, Rita.
Hello, finally.
Oh my God, Rikta!
Hello, Sandhya.
So good to see you. You remember
Very
me
good
20
to
years
see
back?
you. Of
No,
course,
23 years
I
back.
remember you. I was just telling Sanjay, I remember your interview in the Sundaram's office, our conversation after that. I remember all of that. I was telling him as well my impressions of you, somebody who was so uninhibited and so beautifully authentic. I remember you very well, Sandhya.
I am really touched by
Amazing.
Sanjay, because there hasn't been an occasion where I've spoken about my career and I have not spoken about you. Okay, my story always starts with
Wow.
you, and everyone knows Rikta, whoever has heard my story, and I have never reached out to you
Right.
at all in all these 20 years. I don't know why I never reached out, but then this is like so touching for me to see you. you know.
Wow. Yeah, so
Yes.
I was when Sanjay was explaining to me, of course, during I was since I was the campus recruitment manager. Yeah, I must be about 120. Yeah, I was just giving him some numbers. I must have got in touch with so many, but I remember your specific case and your interview really well. But of course, I
Yes.
mean, I was the recruiting side, so to that extent, I remembered all the conversations what it took. But how do you remember it, Sandhya?
So I don't think I would have ever, my career would have never gone the direction it went if you hadn't taken the extra effort to get my family aligned, get me out of that comfort zone that I was sitting in. I know how much work you put in. You made Padma Priya speak to my mom and convince her, saying why it's safe for her to allow me to go to HUL. I'm not sure if you remember so many calls you made to my mom, to me.
Yeah.
Constantly you were behind her, and there was a language barrier that you could only speak English and my mom could only speak Tamil. So you got somebody who was Tamil speaking to come and speak to my mom so she understands, why this is important. I mean, I will never forget what you did to my life, and you really set my career forward. 23 years after seeing you in person, it's like very, very, very
No,
special for me.
Sandhya, you're too kind. Yeah. Of course, the reason why all of this fell in place was because of you, not for anyone else. Yeah. There was something special about you, which was so very clear to all of us. So it was never about me, it was about you. It's
That's
really
very kind
outstanding.
of you.
I mean, I've been seeing you on LinkedIn because obviously Sanjay had mentioned your name, but I remembered you as Sandhya Sridham
Yes,
at
indeed.
that
Yes,
point of time, right? So I've
yes.
seen you grow, and there's no greater pleasure than to see somebody whom you've recruited to be doing so well in life. So congratulations! It was always about you.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you. And Sanjay, very
Okay.
grateful. I don't know how you managed to find Rita and bring her on this. I mean, so grateful to you, Sanjay. And Rita, I want to again say thank you to you for
Not at
going
all.
out of the way. Many times it's just you can be yourself, just doing what is required. But very few people have it in them that they don't draw that boundary. They go what it takes. Like I keep saying, if I didn't join that day, you'd have found a better person maybe to join HUL. But that's not what you were looking at. You were looking at saying, here is the girl, maybe I should create this opportunity. So if there are hurdles, I have to take that extra effort to debottleneck, not because my job description says it, because I feel for her. And
Sure.
you don't have so many people like that today in today's world. And Rikta, you are an inspiration. A lot of TA professionals should learn from you. And thank you, Sanjay. Thank you for bringing Rikta here.
Yeah. Thanks to Rikta. I mean, she's joining in from Tokyo. I think she was away on a holiday as well, and she responded. And so,
Oh,
thanks a lot.
No, no, not at all. Maybe
wow.
a short question, Sandhya, to you. How does your mom feel about your career?
Oh, she's very happy. I mean, I think it took her some
Okay, that's
time to
good.
see what all this meant and come out. But she is, and more importantly, I think one of the reasons I've been able to move forward is that she's just been there for me. Sometimes I have to make like short notice trips, and she will take an unreserved ticket from Chennai and come to Bangalore to take care of my child. She's even traveled unreserved, traveled without tickets, like that. Somehow she'll take a car, something she'll take, and she'll come and land up in Bangalore overnight to take care of my son when he was small so I could travel. So she just went above and beyond once she realized what this meant to me. Yes, there was an initial hurdle that she had to cross, but I think she's my biggest supporter till date.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good, good.
Thanks. Thanks, Rikta. Thanks for taking our time.
No, not at all.
It's
And
been a
good
pleasure.
luck to you.
Sandhya, this has been a delightful conversation, and I've enjoyed this so much. So many gems. I only wish that I had heard this while I was still in my operating life as as a career finance professional, and not now as an entrepreneur. Though I will certainly take out a lot of nuggets which will help me even now. So thanks for sharing all these gems and insights. and wonderful to have you on this program and anchoring really the first episode and the first season of StarEves.
Thank you so much, Sandhya.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I think you really put me on some pedestal that myself can't see. But it was really nice, talking to both of you, sharing, talking about things which, I would have never spoken about, ever, real. And I keep saying you should keep pushing your boundaries and you keep pushing your boundaries. You pushed one more level on my boundaries on what I am okay to talk with or have spoken about. So I'm grateful to you for that. Thank you so very much for giving me this opportunity. It was lovely talking to both of you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
To all our viewers and listeners, do watch this space as we come back to you with the second episode of StarEves Season 1. Until then, this is Soundari Mukherjea
And Sanjay Bahl signing off. See you soon.